You're the only one here, and you live through reflections. Assume how you choose to be, and feel living connections. Your thoughts arise. What you think becomes the real. Look past the triggers and see the truth. Nothing is ever random. Revise the unpreferred. The heart and mind's in tandem. Let the inner voice be your maker. Sculpting wishes fulfilled. Assume who you wish to be. Shape yourself with your true. Refine the reflection.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wisdom Nexus. Thank you all for being here today. Hope you are all doing well. So today it's going to be a viewer topics episode. So again, for those of you who are watching right now, if you want to jump on the chat and you have a personal question, if you want to do a general question, that's free. If you want to do a personal reading question, that is by donation. So again, you can put that on the YouTube Super Chat, and we're just going to be going over through some viewer topics today and any questions that you guys have. So I have actually heard back from Dr. Michael Sala, and last week he was also tuning into the Delphi empathic interfacing. So I'm going to be doing another interview with Dr. Michael Sala here in March. So that's going to be very interesting. I believe it's happening sometime later next week, I believe. So we'll be filming that, and then that'll be coming up here in early March. So again, if you missed out on last week's broadcast with Athena, it was really, really good. There was some amazing information that she was getting. It's funny too, I was even talking to my fiance after, and she of course does readings as well too, right? It's readingswithbrienne.com. Okay, and I'll definitely have her on again here very soon. And she was also getting a lot of similar information on what Athena was sharing as well too, that there's a lot of activity happening in Antarctica, that there is a lot of shifts going on. There's a lot of extraterrestrial activity taking place behind the scenes, and of course we're seeing a lot of activity in Antarctica. So that's always good to see that as well. Like I said, if you missed out on last week's episode, go check it out. It is really going to be a lot of the subject that Dr. Michael Sala and I will be talking about when I do this upcoming interview with him. Sorry, he'll be interviewing me, but I'll be telling him all about it with Athena. There are some very, very fascinating updates. So I hope you guys were able to catch that. But good news is everything's recorded, so go ahead and check it out. All right. So again, a reminder to everybody that wisdomtransmissions.com no longer offers private sessions. Okay. If you do want to have a private session with me, you would just want to go to patreon.com/Adronis. Okay. So Adronis is ADRONIS, patreon.com/Adronis. And you can go and sign up there. There's 2 different plans you can be a part of. There's the $25 plan a month, where you can participate in weekly classrooms. And the weekly classrooms that we're sharing on the Adronis classrooms are not shared here on this YouTube channel. There's a lot more deeper information. We basically have, I'd say, well over about 2 years worth of videos on the Adronis Patreon that, again, I have not talked about openly here on YouTube. So a lot more of the deeper information is found on the Adronis Patreon. Okay. The second plan is the $99 per month plan. And that, again, is weekly classroom participation, access to the entire Patreon library for Adronis, and also having a 30-minute private session with me per month. Okay. So that is available too. So for those of you who are still thinking about wanting to do another private session with me, you certainly can. You're basically doing it as a student. And again, you can do 30 minutes with me every month. And of course, there's no commitment. You can cancel anytime with the Adronis Patreon. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with today's broadcast. So we already got a few donation-based questions as well. And hello, everybody. Welcome. Hope you're all doing well once again. So for personal donation-based questions, this can relate to just one single question. Okay. Can be anything in regards to a knowledge-based question, or again, it can be a healing request as well too. Okay, but a healing request is just a single request. So that's out there as well too, if you're interested. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with, we got a few donation-based questions here. So we're gonna start off firstly with Eve Mills. Hello, Eve, welcome. And she says, hi, BNA. BNA, I love it. Could you please discuss the origins trush about WW2? Were the victims taken off planet? Okay. Well, I've talked about the Second World War and the First World War. No, I mean, this was all just wars created by bankers. Okay. It's not really, I mean, we can't speak for the entire world, but if we're looking at a lot of the agendas, no, it wasn't anything to do with taking people off planet or anything of that nature. These are wars created by bankers. Now, here's the thing. This is exactly what Athena was saying last week as well, too. Basically, a lot of the Nazi movement had the backing of inner Earth beings or intraterrestrials, basically Nordics. Okay, now the flying saucers that the Nazis basically had were reverse engineered intraterrestrial technology, not extra. Okay, these are inner Earth being technology. If we look at a lot of different, you could say, inner cities within the inner vaults of the Earth, a lot of them utilize flying saucer craft. Okay, and as Athena was mentioning last week, is that a lot of what was taking place in World War II pertaining to the Nazis was, yes, there's banker agendas there. They're actually attempted to take down certain bankers as well too. But it was much more intraterrestrial backed, okay, with these particular types of Nordics, because the entire quote-unquote Nazi philosophy was very much about how these Nordics see others, right? They're not too popular with many other civilizations intraterrestrially, right? But that's exactly their mindset, right? We can look at them as like a Vril society, or again, a Nordic society in that particular way. But they had that particular type of mentality, right? Without getting too much into censorship here. But they had that particular type of mentality altogether. So, again, not extraterrestrial, but intraterrestrial, okay? Again, I even asked Athena last week about the Draco, about their relationship with the idea of the Nordics, and how she responded to it. Said, no, they're not in cahoots with each other. Those are two entirely different layers of reality. And a lot of the Second World War was actually really inspired by these intraterrestrials, okay, not extraterrestrials. Draco are more interested in planetary resources. They're much more interested on the planet level. They don't really care too much about, waging wars and so forth. Again, you have to understand that there's many different civilizations that have their finger in the pie here on the Earth. So intraterrestrials are much more interested in taking down bankers, taking down certain bankers, because certain bankers belong to certain groups, right? And so the Nazis basically had a very, very strong connection with these kind of real societies, or again, connections to these Nordic extraterrestrials, or other ones that if we did look at extraterrestrials, it'd be more like tall whites, okay? So we would see something like maybe the Nordics, and maybe an affiliation with an extraterrestrial race like the tall whites. That could be more appropriate in regards to that entire Nazi movement. But according to Athena, she mainly said that this was more of an intraterrestrial aspect. So it has nothing to do, from what I can see, from all kinds of information that I've received over the years, it had nothing to do with people being taken off planet. You can't really do that. Okay, you can't really take people off planet. There are certain secret space programs that can do that, but even so, those people have to come back at a certain time. The connection to be here on the Earth is a very, very stern one, right? So you basically have to keep a lot of human beings on the planet. If they do certain types of services, they need to come back at a certain point, right? It's kind of like a tether, right? We cannot really cut out that tether. You have to have that incarnational experience. So very few humans would be taken off planet and not come back. Okay, that's not something that is really going to happen. If it is something that's taken place, then, like I said, there's been certain agreements. But all in all, you can't really have a large amount of humans taken off the planet. It just can't be done, right? That would basically represent violations, and then you would have certain forms of administrations stepping in, preventing that from happening. So I've never gotten anything about victims taken off planets, or taken off this planet, or anything of that nature. I haven't got that information. Okay, but very good question. Thank you for that. Okay, let's go on to IMG300. Okay, hello and welcome. Adronis, can you give us a practice for us to become an advanced Akashic Records reader? Well, before I bring Adronis in, because he will comment on this, you're not going to become an advanced Akashic reader by a technique. Okay, it's not possible, my friends. That's like me coming up to you and you want to be a painter and say, okay, I just want you to brush stroke this way. I want you to use only this particular type of brush. I want you to use only this particular type of paint, and then just stroke like the way I stroke. Is that going to make you an advanced painter? No. Okay. It doesn't work that way, my friends. Okay. You have to kind of compare it to a lot of the arts and crafts and trades that we have here on the planet, right? It's not like a drywaller is going to become an advanced drywaller because they have one particular technique that wows everybody. And all of a sudden they're an advanced drywaller, right? Or a roofer has an advanced technique, or a boxer has an advanced technique and now they're an expert boxer. Guys, it doesn't work that way, okay? And it doesn't work that way with the Akashic Records. There's no such thing as a practice that is going to make you an advanced Akashic Records reader. Just like there's not going to be a practice to make you an advanced drywaller, an advanced carpenter, an advanced boxer. Okay? Doesn't happen. Doesn't work that way. Okay? But I'll bring Jonas in because he'll talk to you a little bit more about the nature of the Akashic Records and the mindset that one truly needs to be in to start working in developing. It's a craft, my friends. You have to build it. This is a craft. Everything I'm doing, right? Even with channeling. I mean, I've been channeling Adronis now for well over 17 years. Okay? And it's a craft. I'm still learning things, right? If I'm going into mediumship, it's a craft. I'm still learning things. I've been reading the Akashic Records now since 2011. It's a craft. I'm still learning things. You see what I'm saying? So it's no more different than a lot of what we're doing here. on the planet pertaining to jobs, pertaining to interests, trades, anything of that nature. You got to practice, you got to work, you got to evolve. It's a craft. Okay? So let's go ahead and I'll bring Adronis in now and he can talk a little bit more about Akashic record reading. Here we go. Tera Soul Star Sirius Adronis. We are here at this time. We bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. We thank you very much for your question regarding the Akashic Records. Now, again, as Brad has accurately put, this is not about technique. You see, you humans are often quite obsessed with the idea of believing that technique and method is what's going to help you to become advanced in regards to your studies and regards to your experiences and your capabilities on this planet. But that is furthest from the truth. Many of you crave techniques, practices, methods. But again, in this form of vernacular, you are putting the cart before the horse. You are thinking that which is practical is trying to overshadow that which is impractical, and the impractical is truly the actual essence to actually make yourself become that which you want to explore, whether it's Akashic Records or otherwise. You see, the intention itself needs to be key. The dedication, the drive, the wanting, the willpower to being able to do these things is the necessity first. That's the horse. The cart behind the horse is the technique, is the practice, is the method. So firstly, you have to understand exactly, if I'm going to be an Akashic Records reader, then how well am I versed in being able to connect much more to subtle energy? How am I in being able to get myself quiet and the ability to listen? Because if I don't have that type of prowess, I need to train for it, which means I'm working to getting myself quiet, to giving myself time to explore the inner self, to being able to feel energies very subtly. Because here's the idea, that when you're connecting to the Akashic Records, it's as subtle to you as a thought is. If you are not in that particular type of alignment to realize exactly that what you're receiving is actually an Akashic flow, but you've mistaken it as a thought, then you're not going to understand exactly how the Akashic Records work. Because that's all the Akashic Records are doing. They are speaking to you through thoughts and feelings. And if you do not know how to distinguish that from your own ego, you are not going to be able to attain yourself into being an Akashic reader. The Akashic Records simply represents this. It is information contained within cosmic memory. You are looking at all of the branches, all of the roots, everything that represents the interconnectedness of the cosmos. And you are working together with the relay of your intent to bring about a focal point on an area of the Akashic Records to which you wish to explore. Maybe that's another lifetime. Maybe those are multiple lifetimes. Maybe that's looking into someone else's records. Maybe that's exploring yourself on different worlds. Perhaps that's something for healing. But you see, again, you have to be aware of how the Akashic Record speaks to you. So, as Brad has been teaching many of you, it's about going into the substrata. It's about going into the deeper brainwave states. It's about getting yourself quiet. It's being able to know and differentiate what are your own thoughts compared to the natural thoughts that are coming in through Akashic flow, because you're entering much more of the right hemisphere of the brain. You're not staying in the left hemisphere, which means you're getting yourself almost into a type of near drowsy state. A near drowsy state that you are aligning to and keeping the mind aware so that you are able to access this information that you desire through the Akashic Records. So this is not so much about a practice. The practice itself would be stay in the substrata, stay in the alpha, stay in the theta, stay in the delta. Be aware of yourself. Listen to your breathing. Get yourself into a state of calmness. It's all right if other thoughts are coming through. But again, that's why you're moving much more deeper into focus. The alpha, the theta, the delta. Because what you're doing is as you go deeper into those brainwave states, they all constitute different arrangements of focus. You are not scattered like you are in a beta brainwave state. You are much more focused in an alpha, theta, delta, going deeper and deeper and deeper through those levels. And through those different levels of brainwave states, you're now able to hone in on a particular type of subject. Now that subject can relay information to you. So again, what this entails is the really important practice is getting yourself quiet. The really important practice is being able to listen. The real important practice is to feel the flow that comes to you that is soft and subtle like a tranquil river. So again, it's getting out of your own ego thoughts. It's going deeper into the substrata. And as you go deeper into the substrata and you start to work bit by bit in developing yourself by knowing, oh wait, I know that this is my thought compared to the thought and the flow of the Akashic. So you're asking yourself large questions that your ego really cannot answer. You're testing yourself. When Brad began the Akashic Records, that's exactly what he did. He had a friend who wanted to look a lot more into the Akashic Records, into a past lifetime. And so he focused on that friend, and he focused upon the idea of the Akasha, of looking into his energy through permission, and was able to discover information that he knew could not come from his own ego. And now that started the process of the Akashic Records. It's not about seeing visions. It's not about seeing images. It's about the idea of receiving a relay of information that you know is not coming from the ego. It's coming from the source, the flow, the current. That's the idea. This is not something that you are just going to simply attain through a practice. Brad has already given appropriate analogies in regards to much of the trade examples on your planet, and that's very true. But the whole key here in that sense of being able to access the Akashic Records comes from a certain level of mental discipline. You have to practice with getting quiet. You have to practice with learning to listen. You have to practice and work together in focusing your mind. And just working with certain things here on the planet. If you're going outside and you're right next to a tree, try sitting down, taking some deep breaths as you go into the substrata, place your hand on the tree, and get an impression of what you feel. Start writing it down, like field notes. This is what I feel with the tree. I can actually feel its roots going deeply into the earth. Well, that is a very powerful state of flow. Because there is no difference between a psychic who is able to look at another person and looking at their information of what they receive. There is no difference between a medium connecting with a particular guide and receiving the information that they receive. And there is no difference between an Akashic reader connecting to the cosmos and receiving information that they receive to relay. There's no difference. The only difference is the subject matter. The only difference is what you decide to apply, because it's all about layers anyways. What layers do you wish to explore? And when you look at a psychic, when you look at a medium, when you look at a tarot reader, when you look at an Akashic reader, they're all doing the same thing. They tune in. They focus their mind. They are in flow. They are one with the source in that very moment. And that information is being carried into them. And they have aligned themselves and are able to interpret the information because of them being able to go into that substrata. That is the key. All right? No secret techniques. There's no secrets in accessing the Akashic records. It's a matter of willpower. It's a matter of determination. It's a matter of choice, that this is exactly what I want to experience. I want to access the connection to the cosmos. All right. Then you need to put everything pertaining to your ego aside. And you need to be a channel, a vessel for that knowledge, because it's going to speak to you very subtly. And if you are not trained to express that subtlety, you're going to have challenges. Get yourself quiet, learn to listen to the thought, listen to the feeling that you know is not your own, but is now one with the cosmos that is attempting to guide you through it. All right? We thank you for your question. Okay, great. So thank you very much. I am G300. Let's go ahead and move on. All right. Hello, Nutrispire. Nice to see you. Okay, oops, let me just go back up here a bit more. Okay. This one here is from Solstice. Solstice says, "Hi, Brad. My lease ends in August this year. Do you see a possibility of my landlord agreeing to renew it again for another 1 to 2 years, or is it better to just look for a new place?" Okay, so let's take a look here. That's Solstice here with their lease ending. Okay, so let's just take a moment here. I get the feeling that your landlord may be quite negotiable to having you on for a longer period of time. Now, again, whether you decide to stay or whether you decide to go, that's up to you. But I don't sense like an urgency that the landlord wants you out or anything like that. So I feel like there could be an agreement to renew once again, but this has to be up to you. If you decide that you want to stay at that place, if that's something that's comfortable for you, then go for it, right? Again, this is why we're learning to go into the substrata, going into the Vafa, doing post-end manifestation to where you want to go. So if you want to stay, I feel like there's a very large opportunity where you'll be able to do so. But you have to ask yourself, do I want to stay here or do I want to go? That's a fork in the road. There's nothing wrong with doing either, right? So again, guys, there's no such thing as destiny other than the destiny that you yourself have made it possible to have happen. Okay, if you decide to be here, you decide to be here, right? Then there's actions that come together with you being here. If you decide to move to a new place, then again, new actions, new circumstances will come together based upon that move, right? There's never anything that's deadlocked and thinking that you have to be here because Spirit says you have to be there. Well, then that's not Spirit. Okay, guys, over the years, I've heard that so much. Oh, Brad, Spirit wants me to stay here. Spirit doesn't want anything for you. All right? This is, again, just a result of your own personality that you think represents High Spirit. Spirit is not a God screaming at you and pointing a finger through a cloud saying, "Thou must stay here or thou shalt get a beat down." Okay? No, it's not like that. This is the opportunity for you to make decisions, okay? And a lot of that particular form of roadblock that people often get comes from their own personality, right? It's their own personality. It's how they've looked into their environment. It's how they look at things and they think, oh my God, maybe I'm meant to stay here. You're not meant to do anything, my friend. You chart your own course. You follow your own path in life, right? Destiny is determined by you. It's based upon what you've decided. Yes, there's larger imprints of that, far beyond the physical, but it's still from your desire. It's from your intention, okay? So this is why it's important that the ability to decide is such a beautiful thing, right? This is why we need to take time to reflect on these things. Do I decide to stay with my place for another 1 to 2 years because the landlord, I feel, will be very open to it? Or do I decide to follow a new path? This is the beauty. This is like tasting divine fruit, right? I got this beautiful divine fruit here. I got this beautiful divine fruit here. I could take either one of them, but I'm just choosing one. That's the idea. Relish in the ability to choose in life, because that's the delicacy of life, okay? So yes, you will have the opportunity to remain there if you do, but of course you can still have the opportunity to try something new, okay? I want to keep that fork preserved for you. That's important. Your ability to make that decision is vital. Okay? Thank you, Solstice. All right, harmonizing 111. Hey, Brad, can you do a body scan and see what organ needs some charging? That's going to take a long time, harmonizing, okay? So I think before I do that, because if I'm doing a body scan on somebody, I think what I'm going to do is do a bit of a shortcut, okay? I'm just going to ask the one organ that your body needs without having to go into a big body scan. A big body scan takes time. There's prep work involved. There's a lot of stuff involved. So I'm going to do a bit of a shortcut here. I'm just going to tune into your field and just ask what area needs some charging of the most. Okay, so just one moment. Okay, stomach. Stomach is the one I feel that you could require the most healing with. Okay, stomach is pretty low. It's the stomach acid is pretty low as well too. Okay, so stomach would be the recommendation. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a quick charge for you. Okay, on the stomach. So I'm just going to take a moment here. Okay, deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, so basically all I did was just cut away a few cords, some stagnancy in the areas of the stomach, okay? So it's kind of like, I'm almost looking at your stomach almost like it was caught in a vice, right? Just being, having a lot of pressure there, okay? Having a lot of tightening. So we're basically just cutting away quite a few of those cords, purging that away into the ether, liquefying any particular forms of stagnancies within the stomach energetically and physically so they can purge naturally through the body, and vibrationally lifting all of those stagnancies up into the ether to be purged, and then just doing a circulation cycle through your stomach so that it can reach its state of charge that will help it to function better. Okay? Thank you, Harmonizing, for your question. Appreciate it. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. All right, this is Ben's 1539. Greetings, Brad. If my family's farmland is rezoned as building land this year, can we build a modular home, tiny home, or modern prefab on it? Okay, so you're basically looking at one particular permission to come through first to then therefore build a second permission. Okay, so let's take a look at the first permission first. If your family's farmland is rezoned as building land this year. Okay, let's see if that comes up first. Otherwise, there's really no point to ask the second question. Okay, so farmland rezoned as building land this year. Okay. I'm still feeling like there's politicking going on. I still feel like there's paperwork. I still feel like there's delays with it altogether. I can't guarantee it'll be this year. Okay. There just seems like there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of legislature. There's a lot of, legit claims in that sense. I feel like they're just kind of beating around the bush with a lot of paperwork, with a lot of filing, with a lot of processing. Okay. So that could take time. I can't guarantee it'll be this year. Okay. I do feel it will come through, but not yet. Okay, there's a bit of a waiting game here. I'm kind of seeing like a zigzag, right? All the stuff that's kind of happening, all the stuff that needs to happen first. And it's a lot of paperwork and it's a lot of legality. It's a lot of boring stuff, right? But that really needs to get out of the way first. And I think there's other things you have to sign. I think there's certain conditions you have to meet. I'm not too sure if you have to even pay a little bit of extra money. Okay, so there's some stuff here that needs to be taken care of first. Now, if that does happen this year, great. I don't feel it's likely. I'd say it's only maybe about a 25 to 35% chance of it coming through this year. Okay, 2027 seems to hold more of a higher capability for that, possibility for that. If we go to the second part now, okay, about building a tiny home or modern prefab on it. Okay, let's kind of look at a tiny home. Okay, I'm not too sure with modern prefab of what that architecture would be like. So let's take a look at the idea of a tiny house, okay? I'm getting a solid yes, okay? Once your zoning contract is done, and like I said, we go into the substrata, we start manifesting this, we're able to bring it through forward. And like anything I say here can basically be bypassed, right? Nothing I say here is 100% fact, right? Of the 100% way that it is. Again, a 25 to 35% chance that it's not so great this year. Now, again, if you're going into manifestation and you're seeing it this year, that's helping to boost up the percentage a little bit more. But I feel like once the zoning is done and the building land for your farmland is approved, I could probably see maybe about one or two tiny homes on the land, at least. So yes, putting those particular structures on your land should not be a problem. It's just a matter of getting the farmland rezoned as building land, right? And there's a whole process for that. So again, go into the substrata, go into the VAFA, okay? Visualization, affirmation, feeling, familiarity, alignment, okay? And see this, go to the tail end of the manifestation where you already see the land being approved for that and already starting to see a tiny home on it, right? Make that your tail end manifestation. Make it real. Watch it unfold. Okay? Thank you for your question. Okay, this one here is from Heart Whisper. Heart Whisper says, is Las Vegas, Nevada being radiated or electromagnetic waves, something like that, around or by Harry Reid Airport? Feeling unusual aches and pains. Okay, I guess you're asking about any particular form of pollution, right? EM pollution, radioactive pollution, or anything of that nature near Harry Reid Airport. Okay, so something that may be spiking in that particular way. Okay, let's take a look. No, but I'm kind of seeing you in a cube, okay? And I'm not too sure if maybe it's something around your own area together, okay? But what I'm getting is I'm seeing a white room and I'm seeing a glass cube and it feels like it's surrounding you, okay? So a glass cube that is surrounding you in a white room, okay? So my feeling is maybe there's something going on, but I don't think it has to do anything with the Harry Reid Airport or anything of that nature. But I'm just seeing a glass cube and I'm seeing it rotate, okay? And it's in a white realm, okay? So to me, maybe this feels like there is some sort of protection going on with you. Maybe there can also represent the idea that you're shifting, you're changing, okay? So the cube could represent the idea of change pertaining to patterns within yourself, okay? We could be looking at a glass cube. There's no obstruction here. Everything is transparent. So my feeling is that something is actually happening much more with you, okay? Rather than the idea of thinking that it's something external, Okay, so I don't feel like there's anything like a spiking surge of EM radiation or anything of that nature in your area, but I feel like this is something more to do with you, and I think it has to do with internal conditions. Okay, I'd probably have to talk to you a little bit more to find out what that is, but this is the interesting vision I was getting as I was tuning into you, right? And I'm just going to tune into that a little bit more and just asking Flo if it can elaborate a bit more about the spinning cube. She said, yeah, it's a cycle. It's a cycle that's revealing a lot more transparency. It's basically telling you about an opening within yourself. There needs to be a little bit more checking in with yourself. There needs to be a little bit more transparency in regards to how you live, of something that you're not seeing, pertaining to the intake of your body, pertaining to the foundation of your own home. There needs to be more transparency looking around how you are being exposed to your own home, your own foundation. There needs to be a looking around of that, perhaps a home inspection, okay? It may be something within your own home. It may be something that you've ingested. It may be something in that particular way, okay? So no, this has nothing to do with an airport, okay? That's what I can tell you, what it's not, okay? It's nothing to do with an airport. There's no big spikes in the air. But I feel like it's something to do with your own foundation. You need to bring transparency. And that's why I'm seeing the cube, the transparent glass cube that's spinning. It's saying you got to look around your environment. You got to make it transparent. You got to look at things pertaining to your own foundation that may not be so good for you. Okay, maybe like a home inspection. I'm not too sure if it's something to do with mold or something to do with heavy radiation or EM radiation in that particular way. But I feel like it's something within your own space. Okay, and that needs to be looked into. I'm not too sure if that's, again, something that you've ingested. I don't think so. I think it's much more in the idea of just looking into your space. Okay, maybe talk to a home inspector. Maybe talk to some people who can do a little bit of a search and just making sure that your home is healthy. Okay, thank you. Let's go on to the next donate. I'm just going to donation-based questions first, everybody. So, and then once they're done, then we'll go to the other questions. This one here is from Sue. Sue says, "Hi, Brad. I want my living situation to change. I feel it will soon. My knowing has given me refuge and auspicious as descriptions for this new place and there being a dog there. See anything about this for me?" Okay. So I'm just kind of get the grasp of your situation here. A new place that you're looking to be in, where there's a dog there. Okay. Well, an outside place does not make it auspicious. Okay, an outside environment is not what makes something auspicious. It's what you do with it. Okay, nothing outside of you, my friends, gives you power. I'm sorry to tell you, but nothing outside of you gives you power. Nothing outside of you is a refuge. Nothing outside of you is auspicious. These are all things that you have to adopt. You have to make it this way yourself. If you see this as a refuge, if you see this as a paradise, if you see your new place as something that represents a haven for you, if you're putting that intention into it, it will be so. Okay, but again, this is the wrong mentality. It's thinking that if I go to this place, I'll be saved. If I go to a monk monastery, then I'm saved. I'm done. No, you're not. Okay. That space that you are going into can represent a preference for you, but there is nothing out here that is going to make you better. Okay? There's nothing out here that will make you better because it's all reflections, everybody. If I was to say that everything out here is in some way going to make you better, I would be contradicting everything about me telling you that you're the only one here. That everyone and everything is you pushed out. Okay? The outside world is not your salvation. This is. Okay? It's in here. What did Jesus teach all of you? The kingdom of heaven is within. Okay? Stop looking for the idea of miracles out here. Because there aren't any. You're the miracle. Okay? You're the one that's making all of these things miraculous. Of what you see, of what you hear, taste, touch, and smell, that comes through you. Okay? So I can't really give you the idea of saying that this is going to be a refuge or an auspicious thing unless you make it that way, right? If you go to this new place and there's a dog there and you feel like this is heavenly, well, then you're making it that way, okay? Make any particular space on your planet, as Adronis would say, a refuge. Make it a paradise, okay? Make it a platform, a foundation of something that is divine, but you have to make it, right? So maybe the way that you paint the house is, again, a reflection of how you see it divine. Having a little dog there as well, too, and having a new best companion, right, can make it feel divine. But this is all coming from you, right? We got to get out of this mentality is that I'm useless, I'm hopeless, and something outside here is going to make me feel better and give me power. That's wrong. Okay, that is an incorrect notion. You're the power. Okay, so you have the power to make this place a refuge. You have the power to make something auspicious. Okay, that has to come through you. You're giving it that. Right? Everything pertaining to what you see around you right now is the past. There's nothing here that's presently created. Can't be done. Because that which is created is not the present. Guys, do you know what the present is? It's imagination. Right? Imagination is that which is already created in consciousness. This is materially created. Created, not creating, created. Everything here is created. That indicates the past. This is an archive reality. You are not going to get power from something that's already created. You get power from that which you are creating. And creating comes through imagination consciousness, because consciousness reality is the only reality. Right? So I am creating through imagination a powerful place where I am giving it power. And now it becomes auspicious. Now it becomes a refuge. Now it becomes a paradise. Now it becomes a spiritual haven for me. Because I've given it that. You see? That's the difference. You cannot get power from something that's already created. That thing that's already created is just something dead, right? It's dead without consciousness. Consciousness needs to be there. If there's no consciousness, there's no life. This is again why Jesus would say, this is the nature of the living God, right? He is the God of the living, or she is the God of the living. It is the God of the living. God of the living exists within creating, the creative, not the created. This is all created, right? It's not creative, which means there's no power in any of this unless I give it power. That's the idea. That's the true nature of things, my friends, right? What I'm teaching you guys is not theory or belief. It's law. That's the law of things. Imagination is the creative. It is where you create. It is where the now is. This is the past. This is an archive reality. This is the past itself. Okay? So, see anything about this for me? Absolutely. Go to that place, make it yours, make it divine, because it comes through you. If you're feeling a very strong connection with that dog, which I feel you do, and you're feeling a very strong connection with that place because it feels familiar to you, which it does, go for it. Okay? But what I'm trying to teach you here is to learn the power that you have within you. You got to let go of this idea of thinking that outside me, there's a power greater than you. No, there isn't. Because you're the only one here. And everyone is you pushed out. This is your universe. This is your capsule. No one else can come into your capsule. It's one capsule looking at another capsule, looking at another capsule, looking at another capsule. Or one universe looking at another, looking at another, looking at another. Okay? You're all inside your own capsules. You're all inside your own realms. You're all inside your own universe. There is nobody in another capsule that can come in and start screwing around with you. Okay? You're the power source. Please remember that. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, we have a question here from Year of the Firehorse. That is Chris. Go ahead. And can Adronis tell us what's the difference between the higher self and the I am presence in terms of the ego wanting certain experiences in the world? The difference between the higher self and the I am presence in terms of the ego wanting certain experiences in the world. I don't see how that connects together, right? If you're talking about the higher self and the I am, the ego should not be in the picture at all. Okay? Certain experiences in the world, and I'm just going to take this for Adronis if that's okay, because we've talked about this. Certain experiences in the world are never shunned by the higher self or by the I am, okay? Because everything is the I am, Chris. Everything is the I am. There is nothing here that isn't. The higher self is the I am. The higher self is the I am, but the I am is not the higher self. Okay, maybe that's the way that you can understand this a little bit more. I am consciousness is the field itself. It is the consciousness itself. To go beyond I am consciousness is to go completely in the self, to where the nature of the self cannot be explained, because it has no beginning, it has no middle, it has no ending, it has no form, it has no impermanence to it whatsoever. The nature of the self is what transcends the I am. But when we look at the I am itself is the field. It is the field of consciousness. When you look at the self is simply awareness. It is simply presence. When you're looking at I am, that is the field. That is the field to everything that makes up what we term as life. The higher self is just the architect. Okay? The higher self is the architect. It is what's showing you everything that represents the epitome of right brain hemisphere consciousness. Okay? It's showing you the big picture, but it's the intermediary between the left and the right brain. It's that bridge that connects you between the left and the right. Okay? But the higher self is not the epitome of I am. Okay? I am is I am. Okay, that's consciousness itself. So the higher self is I am consciousness. Okay? But the I am consciousness is not the higher self. Okay? All a higher self means is the complete and total epitome of your right hemisphere of your brain. Okay? There's nothing else to the higher self by it being a living expression of the right hemisphere of the brain. When the right hemisphere of the brain is open, is activated, it shows you everything. It shows you the big picture. That's exactly what the higher self is all about. There really is no being called the higher self. You're the higher self. Okay? It's not separate from you. The higher self is the essence of the right hemisphere of the brain. Okay? It is what's helping you to see everything as God sees it. That's the architect. That's the visionary that the higher self is. Right? You are the being of the higher self. It is not some other being outside of yourself. You got to get out of this separation consciousness. Believing that the higher self is over here and then I'm down here. No, it's not. It's the idea that you are bringing that intelligence together within yourself. It's already here, but you're not aware of it. And all the higher self is that essence of the right hemisphere of the brain. Okay? It's that activation, it's that interconnectedness realization, it's that big picture. That's the higher self. That's you. Okay? Not separate. So that's the important thing. The ego wanting to see certain experiences in the world. Does the ego really want to see certain experiences, or do you want to see it? Because I don't think it's the ego. It's you that wants to see experiences. You see, what the ego wants to do is the ego wants to try and control those experiences. It wants to try and obsess over those experiences. Seeing experiences in the world, Chris, is not egoic. Okay? Being able to take in experiences of the world is what's helping you to grow. It's when you obsess over it. It's when you try to control it. It's when you try to feel like you don't deserve it. It's anything that represents the extremes of resistance towards an experience that represents the ego. See what I'm saying? There's a difference. This is why your question's not quite clear. The ego does not want to experience the world. It wants to try to control it. It wants to obsess with it. It wants to bring about extremes, to try to taint it, to try to make it its own. But there is no ego. It's nothing but a shadow. It's yourself acting as a shadow. The ego is not separate either. It's nothing more than a shadow that you are assuming. And a shadow is not real. It's just the idea in that sense that if you're in front of this big object, now you see your shadow and now you're acting as the shadow. The ego is nothing more than a shadow connection of yourself that you are assuming because of programming that does not quite understand the nature of what you're experiencing. It is a shut box, right? It's trying to shut everything in. It's trying to contain you in everything. But that's just coming through faulty wiring of your brain. That's coming through faulty wiring of your system. That's when your nervous system is in a state of disarray. Okay? So again, the ego works through your body, but like I said, you're the ego. The ego is not some separate thing. It's not some outside demon that's trying to possess you. It may seem that way, but that's not the key. It's just you assuming that you are the ego based upon these things that are not properly wired together with you to gain clarity and eliminate ignorance. That's the difference. The ego is you, my friend. God is you, my friend. Consciousness is you, my friend. There's nothing outside of you. It's all in here. It's internality. Okay? Hope that makes sense. All right, let's go ahead and move on. This one here is from a believer. Brad, can you my divorce outcome? I'm not sure what that means. Okay. Ex going after my pension and half house, though he didn't contribute 11-year child support or mortgage and upkeep. Okay. So I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what you want me to do with your divorce income. I guess that part was missing. Can I evaluate your divorce income outcome? Okay. Ex going after my pension and half house, though he didn't contribute 11-year child support or mortgage and upkeep. As long as you're staying with the idea of the systems of this world, then you're going to be at the mercy of the systems of this world. A believer, I want you to repeat that after me, very slowly. As long as I am attached to the systems of this world, I will stay in confinement to those systems. Okay? That's important to know, because all this is talking about right now is the dilemmas of you playing along with a system that doesn't work. Okay? So here's what I have suggested, and if you're a new person, welcome. Okay? So what I would suggest all of you do, if you are new to my channel, I want you to go to my YouTube channel and I want you to watch 2 videos. The first video I want you to watch is how to align the mind to personal freedom. How to align the mind to personal freedom. What that teaches you are the 3 exercises of the substrata: the alpha, the theta, the delta, and how to go into that. The second video I would like you to watch on my YouTube channel here that is relatively new is physical reality is not what we think. Okay, in that video, I teach you everything about the VAFFA, the VAFA. I teach you the nature about manifestation, about how manifestation actually works. So a believer, rather than trying to fight the system, rather than trying to think that you need to get a lawyer or fight legalities or anything like that, which is going to take you a long time, and it's not really going to satisfy you at all, you are learning how to work together with the substrata to bringing you into the VAFA process of the living law to see the outcome that you prefer. Okay? And you are living in that outcome, which means if that outcome is the whole divorce is settled and I'm in my house in peace, what I'm going to in the tail end of the manifestation is I'm in my house and the divorce is settled. I'm in my house, I have my pension, and the divorce is settled. And what you're doing is you are visualizing that, sitting on your couch, in your home, in a peaceful, content state, with a little bit of a smile on your face, and you are affirming that. I remember when my divorce was settled. I remember when I took care of all of that. And right now, I am content in my own home with my pension, and the divorce had been settled. That's the affirmation. Then we go into the feeling of that. I want you to feel what that's like. What does it feel like to be in your home, happy on your own, with the divorce all settled that happened quite a while ago, and being able to have your pension and feel the feeling that comes up out of that? I don't want you to say, oh, this is maybe, or this is only, maybe only possible. No, I want you to throw possibilities and maybes out the friggin' window. I want you to definitely be there in that end of the manifestation. You are sitting in your home. The divorce has been settled. It was settled a while back. I remember when the divorce was settled. I remember when I have my pension intact. And I'm sitting there completely content and happy. Right? I'm not doing cartwheels. It's a contentment here. Right? I'm feeling very content, and I'm letting that feeling be natural to me. And I'm just staying in the feeling, staying in the feeling, staying in the feeling, staying in the feeling. Okay? While I'm doing that, that brings me into familiarity. Familiarity is having a strong history with the feeling that you're feeling. Okay? You saturate yourself with it. You know that good feeling. It's a good feeling. That good feeling is telling me the divorce has been settled. Everything's okay. The pension is still mine. No problems. Everything worked out. And I want that feeling. And I want to stay with that feeling. I want to make it familiar to me. Like an old companion. Like an old friend. I feel that. That's the familiarity. And then once I have that familiarity, I feel it from head to toe. I claim it. It's mine. I own it. That's alignment. You have aligned. You have claimed it. You own it. It is yours. It goes into your heart. It stays there. Okay? And once you do that, you are reminding yourself, you are feeling, not because you're trying to force yourself, but you're telling yourself, this is 100% real. This is 100% fact. This is 100% truth. Because you feel it. Because you've familiarized yourself with it. Because you've aligned to it. And now it moves into your state of being. So what you have done is you've done a chemistry. You have made a manifestation chemical. Okay? It's like how someone working in a lab is able to combine ingredients, and now they make a particular type of elixir, for example. Okay? They've combined ingredients, they've done all the work, they've combined it, so, oh, eureka, I have it. That's what you're doing in your manifestation laboratory. Eureka, I have the feeling. Eureka, I have the familiarity. Eureka, I have aligned to it. And it's right here. It's called feelings. And I'm staying in that feeling for as long as I feel I can. It's natural to me. When I'm doing the dishes, I'm feeling that feeling. When I'm driving my car, I'm feeling that feeling. When I'm going for a walk around the neighborhood, I'm feeling that feeling. I'm letting that feeling be a part of me. That's why it's a state of being. Because now once it's finished, I say to myself, it is finished and I abide, amen. And now I go up and I do something else. But when I'm doing that something else, that feeling is with me. So Brad, why are you telling me this? Because when you stay there and you went into your laboratory and you did the Vafa process and you made your feeling elixir and you're holding on to it and you're feeling it as often as you can, reality itself bends. Reality itself shifts. Reality itself contorts to abide by what you have intended through Vafa. That's the answer. That's the solution for all of you, by the way. To get out of this feeling that you are at the mercy of systems, that you are at the mercy of man-made attributes, because they can be bypassed, and I just taught you how to do it. Because I've taught people how to get out of this. I've taught people how to get out of lawyers' fees or getting out of court and all that stuff, just by manifesting the tail end. And some have done it because they're willing to do it. Some are still questioning it because they haven't done it and they're still wondering if this is going to work or not. And I can't convince you 100% that this is going to work or not, because it's up to you. If you truly believe in it, if you want to make it work, it's going to work, right? And that has to be your call, right? Like I said, you're the only one here. This is your universe. So, a believer, there you go. Now, your name is a believer. So I believe you're looking at this and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Guys, if you are feeling like you are completely in a state of victim consciousness because of earth-based, man-made affairs, as long as you play those games, you are going to continue to be that. This is not about trying to do little mind tricks and try to work around the system. It's going to come back and bite you because you're trying to manifest something different that still resides within the foundations of those systems. It's not going to work. What's going to work is Vafa. What is going to work is the living law. By going into your manifestation laboratory and creating that feeling elixir. That feeling that you keep in you, your nervous system attunes to it and it radiates it throughout the entire environment because you keep thinking about that feeling, and it's just a very soft and subtle thing. I'm not telling you to feel like you need to focus like a madman or a mad woman with this, thinking that it's going to waste all your time. I'm telling you it's a soft little feeling. If you can go into imagination and imagine something silly and funny, then you can do this. It's nothing more than a feeling that you have manifested through Vafa. And you hold on to the feeling. You abide in it. And when you do that and you start facing these trials and tribulations of man-made systems, you will be amazed because they'll all be bypassed and they'll all work in your favor. Because you've reshaped reality. And you did it through the substrata and you went into the Vafa. That's what I'm trying to teach you guys. It works if you let it. So there you have it. Okay? Thank you for your question. Moving on here, this one here is from Mariama. Hi Brad, could you please send me healing light to my colon and advise me how to improve detox and motility? Okay, so if you're having gut motility issues, you need to cut out fermentations. Okay, anything that is a fermented food has to go. Anything that has high sugars has to go. Okay, so you're cutting out the fermentation and you're cutting out the high sugars. What that does is when your body has a break, your gut motility naturally starts to improve. And if you want it to improve more, you start taking mineral alkaline. Okay, so you start taking minerals. Guys, I have a video on my YouTube channel called the 102 Mineral Smoothie. You look into that, you make it that way, and you start drinking that, and in the long term, it's going to help you out big time. Because your body is getting minerals. That's how your body functions. It needs those minerals. You start having a high mineralized body, everything is going to move. It's like a fountain of youth. everything's going to change, right? Your skin starts feeling softer. Believe me, I have that experience. You start looking younger. You can lose a few pounds, right? Mineralization isn't really for weight loss, although it really just helps to regulate the system. I've lost about 18 pounds when I was doing more of the hardcore alkaline. I'm not doing so much of the hardcore right now, but when I was doing hardcore alkaline for quite a few weeks, I was losing about 18 pounds. Okay, but that's that's kind of like more like a symptom than anything else. It's really just the idea of regulating your body, right? So that the motility of your gut returns. And the motility of your gut is compromised often because the small intestines start to swell. They start to swell because of the fermentation and high sugar that we put into the body. So if you want your small intestine to be better, then you get rid of fermentation and you get rid of the high sugars. Okay? That's how you clean it out. That's for those of you who want to do it, right? To want to get better. So yes, we can do some brief healing work on the small intestine, okay? And help it out with that, okay? So one moment as I connect with you now. Okay, deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, so I just went in, started cutting out some cords. Okay, these are just stagnancy cords of, you could say, basically tight energy, dense energy, inflamed energy. Okay, so small intestines are quite inflamed. Okay, so the key to that is mineralization. Okay, alkaline. Look to putting, again, the good food into your body. That's going to help to clear out a lot of the inflammation and a lot of the mucus buildup in the small intestines. It may also be good to look into intestinal cleanses. I'm not going to give you anything specific because it depends on you. There's certain sensitivities that people have. But I would suggest maybe doing a colon cleanse at the same time. Clean out the colon. Make sure the colon is in good shape as well, too, because that helps the process at the same time. And 102 mineral smoothie. Okay, so again, just circulating that energy through the small intestine to help give it strength, bring it into a higher state of gauge, of higher strength of gut motility for you, okay, to helping it along. Thank you so much. Okay, wow, we got lots of donation-based questions here today. I think this is a record. It's great, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. This one here is from It's Me. Hi, Adronis. Thinking of moving to Europe. You guys are moving everywhere. This is like the third moving question I've had today. Thinking of moving to Europe or Calgary. Well, that's a wide choice there. Okay, you're thinking of moving to Europe. You realize that Europe's a continent and not a country, right? You have a lot of countries to choose from. Okay, guys, I have a choice: Europe or Kelowna. All right, that just makes me giggle a little bit. All right, so just letting you know, Europe's a continent, not a country. Okay, you have a lot of different countries to choose from within Europe. It's me. I think you have to sort this out a little bit more. Okay. Now, do I see anything job-wise for that's a completely different question. Those two questions, guys. Okay, just one question per. Okay. So, is there a location that stands out? Okay. Well, this is what I mean. I think you have to go back to the map because I feel Europe could be something really good for you. I don't feel it's Calgary. Nope. I think you're on the right track with Europe, but you need to look at it a little bit more, okay? I would suggest that you're looking at a certain country in Europe that starts with the letter I. I want you to figure that out, okay? I want you to look at a certain country in Europe that starts with the letter I. And I think that could be a very good fit for you. But again, it's ultimately up to you. I would say that that country, compared to Calgary, holds a lot more high promise for you. It's a country that starts with the letter I. Okay? Starts with I, ends with Y. There you go. Thank you very much. Okay, this one is from Heather. Heather says, "Hi Brad, can I get a message from my higher self? Thanks." You're constantly putting yourself in battles that you don't need to put yourself into, right? You constantly often may complain a lot about these situations that you do not need to be a part in. There's the idea where you're becoming much more argumentative than understanding. You need to let those arguments go. You need to cool them off. You need to take more time to work through these things rather than feeling like as if you're being treated unfairly. You're not being treated unfairly. You're holding on to old programming that's ready to go. You need to learn to rewire yourself. You need to take more time to be aware of when you are hot, when you're feeling heavy emotions coming in, to withdraw yourself and take more time. Go into the substrata, do some breath work, get into some pranayama. You make things too argumentative, and a lot of these things are molehills, not mountains. Okay? You need to look much more into why you argue, into why there's a lot of emotional blunder when there doesn't have to be. There's the opportunity for greater expansion when you take time for yourself to realign. That's what I'm getting for you, Heather, okay? Less arguing, less fighting with yourself. And even if it's fighting with others, it's still fighting with yourself, right? Not feeling like you're being treated unfairly, or this world is horrible, or these people are horrible, why can't I get a break, why can't I be treated properly, etc. A lot of that comes from, again, this programming, this conditioning that we hold on to. We need to soften it. We need to let it go. Make sure you're working with a lot of the practices that I'm suggesting. But even before practices, it's about intention. Okay? Intention is the horse. Practices are the cart. Okay? Practices are fine, but don't put it before the horse. All right? Thank you, Heather. All right, how are we on time here? So that is all for the donation-based questions. I think we got about 10, 15 minutes left. Okay, I'm just going to look at the other free questions that came through. So just give me a moment here. Okay, this one here is from Vicelina. Could Adronis offer a brief explanation regarding how sacred geometry influences our consciousness to be able to remember our true self and embodiment of our essence? So I already saw two other donation ones, so I'll get to that right after this. Okay. Sorry, let me just read this again. I got distracted here. So if Adronis could offer a brief explanation regarding how sacred geometry influences our consciousness to be able to remember our true self and embodiment of our essence. Okay, it's a good question. All right, let's go ahead and I'll bring Adronis in for this question. Here we go. We thank you very much for your question. Well, again, understand that it's about the type of geometries that you're discovering, because geometries can rendition themselves to the patterning of thoughts. They can rendition themselves to patterns of consciousness, yes, but you have to know how to utilize them. It's not so much in the idea of taking a flower of life, for example, and feeling that you're staring at that and that's going to bring you into a much more greater awareness of consciousness. That may not be the clue for you. So basically, as you start going much more deeper into the substrata states and you feel yourself lighter, you almost feel like you're floating, then we would ask you to talk to your consciousness to bring forward a certain geometry and to make it vivid. All right? We will give you a hint. That geometry has circles within circles. It is in a state of high curvature. It even has crescents. All right? So each of you has your own particular geometry. Now, again, many of us are going to say, well, Adronis, can you give it to me? We really have a hard time describing these patterns because they can be complex. But for her, it can represent the idea of circles within circles, a great deal of curvature, and even crescents. All right? So what this is doing is this is functioning as a condensed shape, a condensed geometry that when you are able to just feel it, because all we're doing here is giving you a hint. When you feel it going into that deeper state and you see it there, do your best through memory to capture as much as you can with it. And then start to draw it out. And then as you start to draw it out, try drawing it another time. And then draw it another time. And then draw it another time. And continue to draw out this geometry, because what it's doing is it's bringing forward the requests that you have about a geometry that is aligning you to higher intelligence, to higher consciousness. So sacred geometry, as you term it, simply represents the idea of form together as intention. It is intention through sound into form. Intention through sound into form. That's what you're witnessing. It is an array, yes. It is a geometry, yes. It is a pattern, yes. But within that pattern is the consciousness that you wish to bring forth to moving yourself up into that higher intelligence. But that is something that needs to be mutable with yourself on a daily basis. It's not just looking at it one time and all of a sudden magic's happening. You are going back to that symbol. That's why we say, draw it again, draw it again, draw it again. See it as often as you can. That reshapes the brain. That reshapes the body. That reshapes your coherence qualities. And that's what's bringing you much more into the alumni of higher consciousness to which you wish to seek. All right? We thank you for your question. All right. Very good. Thank you, Vicelina, for your question. Let's go down to the 2 donation-based questions here. Okay. All right. The first one here is from Starkley. Starkley says, "Hi, Brad. Do I actually have cancer recurrence or is it just cellular gunk?" Starkley, I have to be careful with these questions because there's censorship, okay? Now, I'll try my best to kind of give you hints here and there. But again, I'm not trying to make any particular claim here about cancer situations and that stuff, right? I've done that before, but I kind of get not so good looks with that. So I have to be careful. There's censorship, okay? I was using your 102 smoothie, but it's really gross. I feel okay, so not sure if it's really cancer. Okay, well, let's just pause here for a moment, okay? Firstly, let's take a look at the 102 smoothie, all right? So I know people may not respond too well to sea vegetables, okay? Because when you have the Irish sea moss, okay, that's a sea vegetable. When you have kelp or bladderwrack, okay, that's a sea vegetable. There's a reason why I'm recommending those, though, okay? The sea vegetables, specifically in regards to Irish sea moss, specifically even if we look at dulce flakes, which you could also use, okay, dulce flakes or the dulce can work very, very well because that has a high concentration of minerals. Sea vegetables have extremely high concentrations of minerals, okay? This is why I suggest that you start putting your own fruit in it, right? So maybe you put a banana in it, maybe you put some berries in it in that sense. I would say the best thing, and I'm not saying this to be mean, suck it up, okay? Don't turn something down just because it's gross, okay? I want you to still drink it, even if it's gross. Brad, how could you? Well, guys, haven't you drank cough syrup when it was really, really bitter to help you feel better? Okay, this is your cough syrup. Keep drinking it, even if it's gross, because it's going to help you. There's a reason why I really recommend those 3 ingredients, because when you put those 3 ingredients together, the bladderwrack, the sea moss, the moringa, you are actually getting 102 trace minerals. Okay? That's extremely powerful. And there really isn't a lot of other combinations that can do that. So again, suck it up if you can. All right? Now let's go into your other question here about you're saying cancer recurrence, or is it just cellular gunk? That's an extremely difficult question to answer. And again, I have to be careful here. All right? See, I'm not here to be your human radar to say that if you do have it or if you don't have it in that way. But I will say that what you're fearing is more of a fear than an actuality. Okay, that's what I'll say in code. Starkly, what you are fearing is more of a fear itself than actuality. Okay? I want you to kind of figure that out. So I'm not here to really talk so much about who has cancer, who doesn't in that sense. I'm not trying to go there because, like I said, there's censorship, right? But just as a hint, without going into it, a lot of what you're fearing is just that rather than what's actual. Okay, so I really want you to figure that out. All right, that's what I can say about that question, just because we're on YouTube, okay? Going to EUM142, and this will be the last question for today, okay? Hi, Brad. How long is biometrics entry exit crap expected to stick around in Europe? Will it be replaced or overhauled in the long run? Biometrics. Okay, let's take a look. I don't see it leaving anytime, unfortunately, man. Right? For biometrics, it's going to be around for I don't really have a date for it, but it's not going to be gone this year or the next. Okay? Biometrics is still going to continue, and it's still going to be something for the long term. Now, may it change form, right? And biometrics itself as the technology is going to stick around. But again, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make like these 15-minute cities, okay, with entry and exit crap expected to stick around in Europe for a little bit. I would say for the 2020s, okay? There has to be more and more people that are wanting to change that, okay? And I think that will happen over the next few years. But like I said, I don't see it changing right away, right? I think it needs to kind of stick around a little bit because people have to stand up and say, we don't want this. And when there's a lot more of that that's happening, like I said, it's a year of revolution, but it's going to take a little bit more, right? And there's revolution that's going to come together and it's going to bring about big political shifts. And again, there's going to be a lot of debilitations for certain countries this year. With biometrics, again, the technology will stick around, but the entry and exit stuff that's happening in Europe is still going to be a little bit more long-term. It is eventually going to collapse, but it needs to come much more through wider participation of people to wanting it to collapse. Okay, so it's kind of like COVID, right? With COVID, it took a couple of years because the entire world was against it. Okay, so when we're looking at this, that can collapse, but it needs more. It has to have more of that demand of wanting it to collapse, and I think maybe in the next couple of years we'll see something like that happen, but it's not for the short term, unfortunately. It's still for the long term. It's going to stick around a bit. I don't like to tell you that, but that's just how the flow is right now. Okay. But like I said, when you guys start working with tail end manifestation, you start going into your manifestation lab, you see this, you're not going to be affected by it. If you start going into VAFA, right? You go into entry and exit, it's not going to really bother you anymore because you've already brought forward the manifestation to bypass it. As I said, you can be victim to human rules. You can be victim to mankind-based systems, or you can learn to live above it. And that's going into the VAFA. Just as I talked to the previous individual about them, right, going through their divorce, okay, and having their pension, and being in their home feeling completely content. That's what you got to do the same way, EUM142. Okay? You are seeing yourself going to and fro throughout Europe, and nothing touches you. Everything just cooperates. Everything goes your way because you're seeing the tail end. I'm back at my home right now, and I've went here, and I remember when I did all that, and everything went my way. Nothing bothered me. There you go. That's VAFA. That's the chemistry lab. That's the eureka. That's the feeling. Vafa is the answer. Guys, I'm telling you, if you keep dicking around with these systems of man-made ideas, you are going to be at the mercy of them. I can guarantee you that. But if you start working with Vafa, and you start working with your manifestation lab, and you have your eureka, you visualize, you affirm, you feel, you familiarize, you align. And you go into that state of being because that feeling is now potent. And you're staying with it. And now when you go out and you travel, the whole idea of the entry and exit doesn't even bother you. Nothing is causing you to worry about it. You're immune to it because you've reshaped your life to make it so. Vafa, my friends, that's what you work with, rather than dicking around with man-made systems that as you're volunteering to play with them, you're going to be at the mercy of them. I can guarantee you that, right? And it's not about using mind tricks to get around it. That's only going to get you in more trouble. Go above them. And that's what Vafa is teaching you. Substrata, moving into Vafa. That is what makes the difference, because I do it and it works. Because I know it does work. And that's what you have to do. You convince yourself to know that this is it, because this is law, my friends. Not belief, not theory, not my own opinion. This is the law of nature. And that's called the living law. And when you learn to work with the living law, everything goes your way because you see yourself as master creator. All right? Very good. Thank you, everybody, for all of your questions today. I really appreciate it. We had a really amazing amount of donations today. I'm so thankful for that. Thank you so much. Next week, we'll be back. May have another topic next week. I'm going to be putting up another video here this week as well, too, going into one of those other deeper educational videos. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'll talk to you guys again next week. Take care. Namaskar. May it be well with you. Bye for now.